We are live for the final time in season 3. This is the Benefit of a Doubt podcast, and this is Beyond a Doubt, where we sit down and talk to a creator about themselves, mostly, or we just see where the conversation goes. And it is criminal that it has taken this long to get Juan Carlos Bagnell onto the show, considering, if I'm totally honest, Creator Chat is kind of the progenitor of the Beyond a Doubt podcast.
Yeah. No, I was
So,
happy
yeah,
to pass it along because with work schedules being what they were, I think my plans for a semi-regular creator-focused podcast were a bit ambitious. So
yeah,
I'm glad that someone else took the idea and ran with it because it's a great idea, and all the
yeah.
conversations, like I see you pop up in my podcast feed, and like, okay, cool, yeah, this is the vibe, this is the gig. I'm really glad that this is still going on.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So this is, for those who are not familiar, this is a monthly edition of the Benefit of a Doubt podcast, sub brand Beyond a Doubt, because come for the text, stay for the puns. And basically, what we do is I intentionally do not do any research into the subject of my video, because I want this to just be a conversation. I want this to see where the conversation goes. Sometimes we'll talk about Star Wars, sometimes we'll talk about Lego, sometimes we'll talk about healthcare. I mean, it just kind of depends on what happens. So, the typical area where I usually start is I usually try to get kind of like an origin story. Like, how did you get into technology? How did you
For
get
sure.
into your own, into being yourself, your own creator? Because I know you've freelanced a few places as well. So, like, I just wanna see, like, what's the start of one. Let's get that
Man,
out of the way. Yeah,
I mean, let me try and condense this because my origin story could
yeah. We
could
only have an
could
hour.
eclipse your hour. So I grew up in a household of engineers and scientists.
Hmm.
My dad is a PhD in electrical engineering. My mom has her master's in computer science. I mean, like, I think I remember being 4 years old, going to this little kind of sort of walk-in coat closet where we had set up a workstation terminal for my mom's degree. And we were one of the first families on the block to not only have a really powerful DOS 8088 XT clone, but also have it network connected. We were hooked up to ARPANET before the internet was a thing. And so I'm 4 years old trying to play my favorite games on this computer. Well, I mean, I needed to learn how DOS worked and how floppies worked. And I remember I have these early memories of, like, hey, something's wrong with the computer. And my dad would just rip the case off and, like, resolder stuff because that's how you fixed things.
Right.
And, it gives you a completely different perspective that later on in life, I came to the realization, like, oh, our family was very not usual in that regard. We were very ahead of the curve on a lot of that stuff. And people make jokes about, like, your modem and your dial-up tones and stuff like that, but that was 5-year-old Juan, was
Right.
experiencing the early days of, like, telecommunications over networked infrastructure. So from there, I kind of have this twisting story of going through arts and creativity and content creation and expression. I went to school for a theater degree, and immediately out of college, I worked for a technology resource firm handling a DOE contract, where I
Hmm.
would have my hands in the guts of old, Mac Pros. Um, Actually, they were Power Macs back then. They were the IBM Power PCs,
Yeah.
but we would customize those for Los Alamos and for Sandia Labs, and we were building Xserves, and that was where I first got my first taste of mobility. Was really digging into, at the time, those early compact iPAQs and Windows Mobile Pocket PCs. That got me super fascinated in mobile. I'd always been kind of a sucker for, yeah, like, I had a little Texas Instruments pocket organizer when I was in the 6th grade. I was always playing with my mom's graphing calculators. I had a TI 92 Plus, was the only one in my calculus class in high school that had the full QWERTY keyboard TI calculator. Like, it's always been a part of this, but at the same time, I was also studying production, performance, minored in dance, and all of those disciplines kind of came together with voiceover casting. And
Hmm.
so I came out to California, got a job at a talent agency, and at the same time, we were just in that explosion of home recording. And if back in the day, the actors would go to the talent agent's office to record their auditions, and I would have a day of recording to do. You come in, you've got to record the script. You come in, you've got to record the script. Someone might have like 6 pieces of copy. They've got to knock it all out. I've got to get this uploaded. I've got to get it sent. And so any second in between two actors is a second I can't spare. And almost every day I would have to sacrifice my lunch break or like, stay super, super, super late in the office to get all the audio cut and sent. So people would keep coming in and asking, like, well, hey, I heard this USB mic is really good. It sounds just like a $3,000 mic. And be like, hey, I can't talk to you. I can't spare this time. Your casual inquiry means I don't get a lunch break. So you need
Right.
to get out of my booth. But you're not allowed to talk to actors that way because they're very emotive and sensitive creatures. You need to have that trust in
That's
that bond.
I've heard that.
So at the time, we weren't really allowed to have social media as part of the talent agency. They were worried that if we were talking up all these cool projects on social media on the Facebook, yeah, get out of my booth. I love you. I love your face. Get out of my booth. The crisis got to such a burning point that I created an alter ego. I created Some Audio Guy, and I started writing a blog. It started out as a secret, like, this is a guy who obviously works in talent and in voiceover and in casting, but I didn't put my name on it. I wasn't broadcasting who I was because I needed some kind of plausible deniability. I didn't want to get fired from the talent agency, but at the same time I could say, like, I can't talk to you about this right now, but if you get out of the booth, there is this blog, there's this guy, Some Audio Guy. He was reviewing all of this audio tech, and he's talking about like how to set up home recording. You can check that out, and if you have any other questions, you can hit me up after hours. And so Some Audio Guy quickly developed a reputation for being very snarky, aggressive, what not to do in an audition, how
What?
actors can come to
No,
fail.
not you.
Yeah. Although, like, Some Gadget Guy is very tame by comparison to what Some Audio Guy was, because the Hollywood casting talent infrastructure is ruthlessly aggressive about, like, the way you walk in the door can determine whether or not you're going to get this gig. Like, I mean, it is so hyper specific and discriminatory in how projects are cast. Some Audio Guy, his reputation was substantially more acerbic than Some Gadget Guy. And Some Gadget Guy is not a lightweight. But it also affords me kind of the separation. Like, Juan could be totally cool and chill. Let's hang out. Let's chat. I've got you in the booth. Let's hang out. I'm super friendly. I'm gregarious, but I could get all the venom out with Some Audio Guy. Like, I can't believe this guy just walked in my booth smelling of Doritos and he hasn't bathed in 3 days. Guys, personal hygiene. You will not book these jobs if people can't stand to be around you in the booth.
Okay.
Juan would never say that to someone,
course
but
not.
Some Audio Guy could.
No.
So
Yeah.
when you spend all that time handling all of this recording equipment, it got the attention of a couple brands. So I started getting headphones, I started getting microphones. Companies were sort of interested in saying, like, okay, well, what are your thoughts on this? We've got a competitor to this type of microphone at this price point. I'd try and test them out, and I'd share my thoughts. And the turning point really happened when Nokia reached out way back in the day. This is still in the Symbian days of Nokia.
Wow. All right.
That they had started really heavily pushing their Bluetooth audio solutions to the United States. We weren't getting the phones here, but we were getting their accessories, and they were really good. And so they invited me out to kind of come hang out with some other reviewers and content creators. And it was like, as soon as I put Nokia on something, on one of my, I think it was even a written article at the time. It wasn't even a full video. That's when, like, all of the other consumer electronics just started dogpiling on, like, oh, well, if you're doing Bluetooth headphones, you need to review this. Or maybe you want to check out this monitor. Or let me send you this small workstation PC. And that's kind of where Some Gadget Guy was born. That is almost 25 years of of life and history to get to that point. So my journey is very long and rambling and winding and is absolutely not any blueprint or path for success that anyone else can replicate.
Fair enough. Very, very fair. So don't be a jerk to actors in order to break into the tech space. Gotcha. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's an important safety tip. Thanks, Nico.
Well, be a jerk to actors, just not to their face.
Right. Okay.
Put on your cape and cowl, fire up your secret identity, and be snarky as the day is long.
There you go. There you go. See, that's the part I forgot. I forgot the cape and cowl part. Whoops.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah.
I'm already out there.
Because when you're like a wealthy billionaire industrialist, go beat up poor people. That's what you should do.
I mean,
mental illness, yada yada.
Who doesn't?
Right?
I mean, come on, right? So, well, and what's interesting, what I've always found to be rather fascinating is how many people in the tech space have backgrounds in like theater and performance, because like I do too, not nearly to the extent as like a you or a Michael Fisher or something like that, because like you have both been paid to do performance. I was just like in theater in like college and stuff like that.
It's interesting kind of seeing some of those backgrounds, because very quickly in college I loved performing, but I always preferred having a sort of a more global eye view on what was going on stage. My preferred performance was dance. I thought I was an okay actor. I thought I was an okay performer, but in terms of expression, the musicality, the rhythm, especially for a lot of the dance that I performed was body percussive. So it was tap, step, folklorico, flamenco. That was really where my heart was. And even today, like I'm talking to my, a teacher at my daughter's school, like, well, maybe you do need a little Mexican folk dancing for some of the older kids. I could help with that.
There you go.
But
why
when
haven't we seen any of this dancing in any of your videos?
There have been.
Oh, really?
You got to watch my videos.
I'm going to need you to cite your sources there, sir, because I'm a regular viewer. And
now I want to send people on the deep dive. I need as many video hits as I can get, Adam. Go look for them.
Okay.
But on top of that, like where guys like Fisher, I think, is a consummate storyteller. For me, I was really most effective at casting. Being able to put a collection of actors together or doing the directing to kind of gel an ensemble was really where my strength lied. And that's where I found some success out here on the West Coast. And I think my wife and we developed some pretty decent reputations for being in the know on what projects were going on and what, especially in the voiceover community, what sort of the trend of the time was. For me, a little bit more on commercial work. For her, a little bit more on video game work. So the sort of expression of that kind of went hand in hand with sort of a natural engineering aptitude, because voiceover is one of those incredible technical arts, and to be able to direct it requires the ability to manipulate audio and acoustic hardware while also paying attention to the artistic expression of the performer, being able to capture it in a way where there is no distraction, and managing all of that in real time. You're constantly balancing left and right brain aptitudes. And so naturally, when YouTube started becoming a thing and we started trying to create content online, there's like a natural flavor for being able to staple some of those disciplines together. I'm definitely more a nuts and bolts kind of guy. I don't really care if I'm trying to create the most cinematically artistic, perfectly, beautifully manicured, edited piece of content, but I still want to achieve a conversation with as few distracting elements as I can manage within a specific period of time. And then I got to tell you, hey, phone, get out of my booth. I need to move on to the next thing. So it's still a part of my makeup, like churn this next thing out, get it done. It's okay. Don't let perfect be the enemy of accomplished.
Yeah, I'm very, very familiar with that concept. And actually, it's interesting that you mentioned the churn, because one thing that I kind of had in the back of my head that I wanted to bring up with you was, as I mentioned, this episode of Beyond a Doubt is going to be the last of season 3 before the show goes on hiatus. And typically, and when I say typically, there have been 2 other hiatuses, so like it's not a real large
Fair.
sample size. But typically the reason the show goes on hiatus is because I'm going out of town. Like in this particular case, I'm going out of town, and I just won't, like, physically won't be able to create a podcast. And over the winter break, there's not a hell of a lot going on anyway, so whatever. But this time, especially at the end of season 3, a little inside baseball, I have been the churn of the weekly podcast has been particularly trying. And obviously I have major career things going on in the background, having
Hmm.
been section editor for Digital Trends, now section editor for XDA, and so
Yeah.
there's just like a
It's
ton of
it's a
responsibility
lot to
there.
juggle when we're talking about this kind of when our mortgages are being paid from
Right.
a an army of smaller revenue streams. It's a lot of balls to keep up
It
in the
is.
air. It's a lot of
It is.
juggling.
But anyway, so like, I'm certain that's part of it. But like, man, these last few weeks, and I've talked to Cliff about this, in our Slack. But it's just like, man, this has been a grind, and the hiatus is coming at just like the perfect time to just
Yeah.
take a month off and forget this podcast exists. So I want to talk to you because as far as I know, you don't take hiatuses, hiatus. You just kind of keep on trucking. Like, how do you keep up that pace? And is it because of the army of sources paying your mortgage? I mean, is it kind
Well,
of
yeah.
forced,
I mean,
or like?
in part, it's also an obsessive personality and an obsessive collector's mentality
Fair
that
enough.
I don't want to say no to things. But it's also just kind of a momentum thing. It takes a lot of energy to get the energy up when I'm in a low energy state. When
Okay.
I'm constantly in the throng of it, I can maintain the momentum. I mean, I'm
Okay.
I'm using really, really bad like physics metaphors here.
That's fine.
An object in motion.
This
So
podcast is nothing if it doesn't misrepresent science.
exactly, yes, I'm in good company.
Yeah.
So when I'm trying to put stuff together, I I'm really genuinely trying to find those things that get me excited, that I know I'm going to have fun with, and those get stapled to all of the stuff that also is necessary for paying the bills. And it's always a beautiful intersection when they line up. But
Hmm.
we've got articles and we've got videos and we've got scripts that we need to produce that, like, I think this is a cool topic. This isn't like my burning passion. Like I just finished a trio of videos with Vivo, and the first video, it's kind of this surface level, just kind of like, here are all the modes on this camera. By the
Right.
third video, I really did kind of push for Vivo and their PR to say, like, I want to do something that's proper nerd math. And that's the video I've obviously, like, if you watch all 3 of those videos, like, video 1 is very, hey, let's just do this. It's kind of cut and dry, very simple. Video 2
Yeah.
is like Juan's starting to perk up a little bit. And by video 3, it's like Juan is geeking out. Um, so that's kind of like what you aim for, what you live for. Like I'm in pre-pro for chatting with reviews.org to look at how we're going to change up some of our coverage. I'm
Nice.
trying to work with Tashaka on how do we spread out sort of gadget reviews. How do we make them more interesting for people to find? Because I think tech as entertainment is definitely waning. There's kind of an apathy to premium tier tech, and I think a lot of people are kind of missing out on some stuff that they would really like. But you go and you watch these videos, and you're like, oh well, this guy isn't very interested in it, and he seems to think that like you should just buy a Samsung or just buy an iPhone, and that's the only thing worth recommending, and that's not really true.
Right.
At the same time, I've just started up doing some work with Slick Deals, and so there's a fun kind of
Oh.
aggressive shopper mentality there that I
Mm-hmm.
haven't been as much a part of. I used to host for Newegg, so there's
Yeah.
always been some retail in this. Like I came out of commercial voiceover. If you sell products, that's like the whole point of your existence in trying to cast those projects.
Yeah.
But Slick Deals is like a completely different animal from the sort of like, hey, cool, we're Newegg, we're gonna build this PC, and don't you want a new graphics card? Where Slick Deals is like, we save 73 cents on this portable display, and it's the best deal. And if you can find a better deal, we'll cut you. Like it's such a different community. It's amazing. I love like kind of jumping into that because it's a totally fresh Um, it's a totally fresh experience on something that I was somewhat familiar with in the
Yeah.
past.
My
So
brother's a
you just kind
big
of,
Slick Deals guy.
I mean, like they take that bargain hunting so seriously, and it's exciting because the people behind the scenes are in it. Like you can meet some Newegg executives, and they're like, "Yeah, well, we really appreciate what those gamers are out there doing," and you can hear they are discussing their clientele with sort of an arm's distance approach.
Right.
Whereas
Right.
like the Slick dealers that I've met behind the scenes, they are taking advantage of those deals as aggressively as
As
their
their clientele or their
audiences are.
reader.
Yeah,
Yeah, their
exactly.
audience. Yeah.
So I can't really fathom any other way to be. It's just becoming more and more apparent, especially as I'm starting to get a little older. The current churn rate that I'm operating at is probably unsustainable, and at some point I will have to kind of narrow just a bit. But YouTube isn't going to force me to do it. Facebook, I've made irrelevant. I've loved the collaborations that I've been working on. So until something kind of significant interrupts what's going on, then for the time being, I'm going to keep trying to keep as many balls in the air as I can. If it's the podcast, then the podcast only doesn't broadcast unless there's something catastrophic. If I've
Right.
completely lost my voice, if I'm sick, or if like, the power goes out and I just genuinely cannot sustain an internet connection,
Right.
that's the only time the podcast takes a break. If it's videos that I'm working on, I might be writing, shooting, cutting, and producing a full video all in one day. If
Mm.
that's what it takes to kind of get this part of the story out, then that's the story I want to tell. And until something massive changes, that's probably how we're going to be for the foreseeable future.
Do you have like specific goals as to like like the number of videos you want to make in a given week or the number of collaborate? It's just kind of like whatever comes along.
I mean, it really has been.
Yeah.
Like right now, if I'm looking at my calendar for the videos I want to do, I'm not saying I'll be able to achieve all of this, but I'm booked through the middle of August.
Oh, and you made time for
So
me? That's so sweet.
yeah, well, I mean, we had to plan it out a little in advance, but yeah,
We did. We
um,
did.
we definitely did. So the I've never been very good at that. If something comes up, I want to talk about it. I want to make a video on it, or I want to write an article about it. I'm gonna do it. And
Yeah.
really, it's not a good way to run a YouTube channel. YouTube wants you to have a regular schedule, only talking about the trendiest of trending topics, and that's how you're successful on YouTube now. But I
Right.
came from the old, wild, crazy days of YouTube where like kind of the randomness was appreciated. So
Hmm.
I mean, I'm still gonna make those videos knowing that YouTube isn't really gonna share them as consistently. I still get regular replies from people saying like, "Hey, I smashed the bell icon, but like YouTube hasn't notified me about any of your videos for the last month." I've been putting out a lot of videos, so there's definitely been an interrupt there
Yeah.
or a disconnect there. But
Oh,
it's also that's
YouTube.
what helps. Yeah, again, a whole other hour that we could spend on this. Um, but
Just an
but
hour?
it's through that vibrance, and it's through that kind of randomness, not knowing exactly like if you gave me a slate of videos and said like, "Hey, this is what your schedule is like," and it's kind of what burned me out at Pocket now with the way that we were trying to produce content back when I was there. Is like if I know too far out ahead and I'm trying to fit this like schedule with those kinds of deadlines, then it just burns me out. If
Yeah.
if there's some random element that can shake up my day from time to time, I don't know what's coming. Maybe it's going to be this cool controller with a fan on the back. You know, that was fresh. That just interrupted the sort of ponderous idea of how much work is ahead of me, and I can knock out a quick little video on this, and it cleanses my palate, and it gets me back into some of the longer term focus that I want to spend on some of these other products. That I need those sort of interrupting reset points so that I can stay on longer track for some of the things that I need to do.
Interesting. So it's kind of like almost a little bit of ADD there, just because like you get
Yeah.
distracted and it kind of resets things. I totally get that. Like I relate to that. It's actually one of the reasons why I'm up until probably about 18 months ago, I was terrible working at home because I would have these like internal conversations, and like obviously not about content, but like I would, be like, oh my, I tweeted this like a few months ago, but I'm like, oh my feet are cold, so I get up and go get a pair and go try to grab a pair of socks, and oh, the dogs need to be fed. Okay, so I feed the dogs, and then like, oh, the dog's water bowl is disgusting, I should wash that out, so I wash it out,
Yeah.
and I go come back to my desk and I think, oh, my feet are cold. So it's the kind of the ADD, the lifestyle. So when it comes to like when it comes to the I know you have a I don't want to say a dislike, but I know you tend to
Mhm.
shy away from the traditional paths of the tech media field, the Samsungs and the Apples and the yada yada yada. Like, what's a small company that excites you that nobody's talking about right now?
I mean, I think that's the thing I want to get away from. Motorola isn't a small company. They're making some of the best phones they've ever made. OnePlus is a small label under a ginormous umbrella corporation. They're
Okay.
making some of the best phones they've ever made. I'm putting out this afternoon. Where did I put it? My desk is way too cluttered. The
Is
ZTE. This was a
that
phone
the
company
40?
that, yeah, this is the Axon 40. I
Okay.
mean, I've been a fan since the Axon 7. Like, I have an Axon 7 pretty easily within reach. I think this is an interesting kind of comeback for the North American market from a company that was kicked out of this space. TCL has been putting out some of the best stuff they've ever done. And then looking at international markets, like Vivo's game is incredible right now. I mean, like, I absolutely love playing with my Duos as specialty devices. We just got another 700 megabyte update to the Duo 2, which is some of the best software I've ever seen in Android land when we're taking a more tablety focus.
I
So
love that composition
my
notebook
issue,
skin on there, by the way. That's awesome.
yeah, my Duo 1, I actually do kind of like the form factor of the Duo 1 better, so I often have it handy. And again, the updates for the Duo 1 have been phenomenal too.
Yeah.
So my approach to all of this is really to try and chip away at this notion of indomitability because Apple and Samsung spend the most on marketing. And Apple and Samsung have largely built the sort of brand cachet that they have through some fairly bullying kinds of tactics. Apple is all about breaking standards and forcing you to buy more expensive proprietary solutions. And Samsung was just an outright bully. They would make fun of Apple, they would make fun of Apple employees, and they would make fun of Apple customers, and in
Hmm.
very unkind ways. And so there's
Yeah.
a contingent of Samsung that I feel when you spend as much on marketing as all of the combined brands of Procter and Gamble every year, Samsung spends more marketing their image than most phone companies do on their entire smartphone business.
Right.
But that doesn't mean those solutions are lesser than. That
Right.
just means they haven't saturated the marketing when in Android we actually are flush with competition. There's
Hmm.
this notion that they're not. But Sony is the most profitable their smartphone business has been in years.
That's
That's
awesome.
an acceptable solution in this market. And
Yeah.
instead we've got an army of YouTubers that fall back on this popularity idea. It doesn't matter what the phone can do, it doesn't matter what the performance to the price is. It just matters, does the label make it worth it for you to consider spending your money, your time, and your attention on this? And all of these brands have something unique to offer. So I feel we've done a major disservice in the tech community by riding the hype train because that's how you make the most money on YouTube. If
Right.
you make videos for the largest audiences, you get more views, and that makes you more money.
Right.
So if a YouTuber whose audience is predominantly Samsung picks up a Pixel, they're not really reviewing the Pixel. They're telling an audience of Samsung owners why they were smart to not buy the Pixel. That's the tone of the video that you get. So
Mm.
there really aren't small brands. I mean, if you think about the enormous logistical challenge of getting a product into someone's hands, that takes an army and an infrastructure to accomplish. It's kind of like in the movie industry. Like even a terrible movie, they finished a movie. Like there's something so mind-boggling amazing that you got a couple people together, you start putting words on paper, you start shooting it, you edit it, you package it, you produce it, you find distribution for it, and then at the end of the day, someone can watch it.
Yeah.
Like that's insane. That really is almost impossible. And I feel a smartphone is almost the same, especially in 2022 with all of the logistic and distribution challenges. And yet, here I'm sitting on my desk, like I'm sitting in front of a mountain of phones that are some of the most amazing portable communication and pocket compute devices the world has ever seen. And so many of the other videos of them have been like, I mean, it's good, I guess, but is it special enough? It just doesn't do anything special for me. And you're like, if I could just reach through my computer monitor and just shake the crap out of you for a minute, just a minute, that would kind of help me feel better about the rest of my day. To me, the excitement, sorry.
Yeah.
Short story, incredibly long. To me, the excitement is, two things. Can I find any audience who might appreciate what this thing can do? It might be 3 people in Poughkeepsie, but those 3 people will have the exact perfect experience using this product. I don't care if it's the most popular. I care that it satisfies someone's needs. And 2, does it really live up to the marketing claims of the manufacturer? I don't believe Samsung and Apple, for as much as they spend on marketing, I don't believe their products really live up to the giant aspirational claims of $10 billion a year in marketing. But then you get like a Moto, and the Moto's like, hey, be more productive. And you're like, wow, not only did that Moto crush their marketing, it's like the expectations were so low, it radically exceeded what I thought this thing would be able to do. So that to me is way more fun. I don't want to sit here and keep like being a PR arm for a company that's already successful when I don't believe they're putting their best work out there. I want to find who would really benefit, who would specifically love what this other product might have to offer. And they're not going to hear that story told on a YouTube channel that has to follow the trendiest of trendy topics.
Yeah. Let's transition. You mentioned TCL. I am in the middle of my review period for the TCL Stylus 5G. Do you happen to have that phone? Yes, you do. Okay. I'm just okay, you're enthusiastically holding up the TCL.
It's great. It's $250 and it kicks the crap out of Stylo 6. I mean, like there is such a lovely, where's my stylo? I have my stylo here too. You know, there is a crew of low-cost consumers and people that are shopping at MVNOs that will ride or die on the stylo. We have completely underestimated the fan base of inexpensive phones. Like this is a phone I got for $140 brand new on Boost Mobile back in the day. So then you turn around and you see like what TCL has been able to accomplish for $250 full MSRP, which means you will never pay $250 for that phone. That phone will be given to you for free.
Yeah, basically.
For the free phone, this is remarkable hardware. Like, it's so good. And when you find that person who like, I don't care about this high performance, I'm not going to be doing this kind of gaming, which supposedly average consumers who don't do things on their phones, why are we talking about average on $1,000 phones when this TCL stylus exists and it crushes at $250? It is so good. It is performant. It's got a great screen. It's got excellent battery life. It's got a built-in stylus silo for people who like to jot down notes. It's performant enough if you want to play like Candy Crush kinds of games. Super great for that. I mean, it is so exciting to be able to pick up something purpose-built, and it makes a strong argument for why you would maybe want that over a 2-year-old flagship when you start looking at things like battery life. Because a 2-year-old flagship isn't going to deliver this kind of battery life with the exception of maybe an LG V60.
Yeah.
We you know, battery life is a feature, right? If you
talk to your family and friends, it's one of the first things to go too,
If you talk to your family, do they need 15% more CPU premium core performance in heavy lifting applications? Or do they want 20% more runtime?
Right. No, totally. Totally.
And so, first of all, legitimately, they will be happier with the battery life. They're not going to care about the CPU compute if we're talking average. So already, that's already the better product for them. not product for price. It's just better. It's
Right.
better for them to have that battery life. And then the frosting on that delicious cake of battery life is, oh, and it's going to be a third the price of like an S22.
Right. Well, and not
And
even
then
the
they get
S22
really
Ultra,
excited.
where you also get the stylus. So yeah, what's the math there? About a quarter of the price for the S22
Yep.
Ultra. So, but I mean, personally, I've found, I mean, like from a performance standpoint, like you mentioned, it can definitely do the Candy Crush. I can't even get Call of Duty Mobile to open on it, which I have found to be a little unusual.
Yeah.
That's
I
not a
mean, for a
very
Dimensity 700.
yeah, that's not a very high powered game. It's not like, oh, what's the one that I should play that I don't, that everybody uses for performance testing?
Oh, Genshin.
Yeah, it's the one.
Yeah, I don't do running around anime girl combat games. It was Genshin. It was what was the other one that was hot for a minute? Honkai,
Missed
Honkai
that one.
Third Impact or something. I think
Missed
it's
that
the
one.
same developer.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know because it's not really my jam. Um,
Right. Right.
but again, I mean, like, this is a phone that can play Dead Cells. Do you want a great indie platformer, a PC port that can actually, it can play it up almost as smooth as a Nintendo Switch?
Hmm.
This is a phone that does okay with arcadey twin stick shooters. This is a phone that actually does okay with even something a bit more graphically demanding like Thumper, which was originally built for PlayStation VR.
Yeah.
Like, we're trying to put this in perspective. Like, sure, first person shooter Call of Duty, that's not gaming, that's one game. Genshin Impact, yes, that is a very graphically demanding title that people love
Right.
to show for benchmarks because it can cause a phone to climb to like 130 degrees Fahrenheit.
and
Cool.
and then go cry in a corner. Yes.
And then, yeah, oh my, it burned the tips of my fingers off. I no longer have fingerprints. Great.
Right.
But when we talk about
Hey,
mobile
that is
gaming and why,
valuable.
depending on,
Just saying.
I've just, yeah, again, I almost went to another like Batman metaphor. This man has no fingerprints and he's committing crimes. But when we look at why mobile gaming and the revenue in mobile gaming has eclipsed PC and console gaming combined, it's not on the back of I mean, actually, quite a bit of that probably
It
is Call of
probably
Duty.
is. Yeah.
But
It's
there's
from
a
the Candy
huge
Crushes and from the
swath of there's a huge spectrum of gaming. And again, just like I'm saying, like, hey, I don't want to get fixated on two brands of smartphone manufacturers. It's the same token. I don't want to just be lit up about Fortnite. There are so many
Right.
other games and experiences and titles. I've got a Steam Deck. Let me tell you about some mobile gaming. I've got this really awesome portable controller with a fan built into it. This
Yeah.
is there's so many other experiences to share. And when you pick up a $250 phone and it's punching above what you would expect from $250 phone gaming, I
Yeah.
think that's the more important story. Is the stylus is playing arcadey, it's playing indie, it's playing gem swap and puzzlers. I mean, maybe my daughter, her chill time is Monument Valley. She's 6. I don't want
Okay.
anything too hyper and overstimulating. She can jam on a stylus. Like, she is not going to perceive any difference in Monument Valley on a stylus over a $1,500 phone. It is the
Right.
same game, the same experience to her. So I feel like that's really where we need to kind of focus our conversations is like,
Hmm.
what is the expectation? The person who I'm excited about the stylus for probably doesn't have Call of Duty on their radar in the slightest.
Fair. Fair point.
It's such a tiny Venn diagram overlap. Like, the circles touch, but they don't really overlap on people that are really looking at like competitive Fortnite and then also want a stylus enabled productivity phone to get work done.
Hmm.
10 people? I don't know. I don't know how many people that is, but I can't imagine that's huge, especially when you can then turn around and go pick up a Black Shark 4 or a Poco F3 or a Poco F4. I mean, some of these
Yeah.
other really inexpensive, high performance, trigger enabled phones and do so much better for that kind of compute workload.
Yeah. So we actually have a question from the audience, and I don't know if you want to field this on live
Oh,
or
sorry.
not, but I'm
Real
just
quick.
gonna.
Darren Mitchell nailed it. Honkai Impact 3. That was
Okay.
the precursor to where we're all at with Genshin. Sorry,
Gotcha.
Darren nailed it.
So I'm just going to toss this out there. Just may as well be a service podcast and answer the question. Will we be seeing an updated video in relation to the Surface Duo 2 after the recent June update to see how the device has come along since launch? And I know several other creators have done updated reviews of the Duo in relation to a lot of these updates that have rolled out. So are we going to see one from you? And then, by the way, I have some questions of my own for you.
To answer ER 1980 there, I don't know.
Okay.
I was really planning on doing a Surface, a Duo 1, Duo 2 follow-up with the last major patch that came out. Because again, I mean, what the Duos do is kind of incredible. They have to break Android in really interesting ways to get this additional functionality. And so I completely appreciate people who were like, oh, this Duo 1 software is garbage. And you're like, yeah, at launch it was pretty rough, but like what they do now is now the backbone of what we're going to see coming into Android 12L and Android 13. Yeah. I really had planned on doing a follow-up for the last big patch. I am planning on doing some kind of follow-up for this patch. I genuinely don't know if it's going to be a video or if it's going to be a written article kind of discussing some of that stuff. But I mean, again, it's where I'm happy to point out a dude like Scary If Literal. His Duo coverage has been second to none. And I feel his clapbacks on lazy reviewers is right in line with my snarky tone on people that dismiss products without really like living them. I would handily point people to check out what he's doing currently, and I'm hoping that I can join that conversation with a bit more earnest. I need people to believe it's the primary Android tablet experience I've always wanted. I think it does such a good job of multitasking, and it does it by hardware design. That is a very specific kind of conversation. If you're the person who wants to do one thing at a time on a bigger screen, the Duo is obviously not for you. If you want to do multiple things at the same time, like I'm constantly streaming video and playing games on a Duo because it's brilliant at that. Then that's the hook. You know, if you want to have, if I'm writing a script on my little folding Bluetooth keyboard while I'm traveling, I can keep my spreadsheet of performance benchmarks up on one panel, and I can start writing my script in the other, and it's brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
When you are trying to do more, dual display, in my opinion, is still superior to a folding screen. If you just want a larger canvas, RIP LG, absolutely. Although, if you can still score like a Velvet with the dual display case, I saw Velvets on Swappa going for like $130. So the dual display case is going to be probably almost $100 more than the phone itself at this point.
That's funny.
But that's what we're in for. I mean, like, you genuinely have two fantastic phone displays with stylus support, with a memory card, with a headphone jack, and you can flip that phone out and go and plug it in for a true desktop mode. There literally is nothing at $140, $130 that can touch an LG Velvet anywhere in the market for just raw capability. So again, sorry, getting real long-winded. Short answer, yes. Longer answer, I don't know in what capacity, but you gotta believe me, the Duo software has been flipping phenomenal over the last couple months. It's just been such a joy to play with dual display.
I actually just moved back into it as a secondary device to the TCL stylus. So I'm looking forward to trying that out because I haven't really gotten into it. Funny story, actually, I moved my Garmin over to the new phone once I moved in, and the next day, so I set up all my folders in the TCL stylus. Like, because I obsessively folder everything. And the only way to really create folders on the stylus is to actually create folders in the app launcher and then drag that folder out onto the main display. I did not like that at all. But I especially didn't like it when the day after I did that, all my folders were gone. And like, it was basically as if the phone had reset itself, and not happy about that. Anyway, so I went
that's kind of lame.
I went to go set up my Garmin, or I went to wear my Garmin and like open the Garmin software on the TCL, and like the Garmin is just like, I have no idea what you're talking about. What watch? I have no idea what you're talking about. And I'm like, what? It got rid of that too. And I'm like, I went through the whole pairing process again. I'm like, I did this. I know I did this. It turns out I did it on the Duo, not the TCL stylus. So that's how I found it out.
Nerd.
Yeah,
but let me tell you, and for anyone out here, everyone out here watching and listening here,
anybody should ever have.
No, but see, that's just it. It's like I need people to understand that I am a tech reviewer, and the lived-in experience, like how miserably painful it is to swap a watch, because we've got to do that every week.
I know.
I don't get the luxury, and again, poor pity party for us reviewers, right? Getting to play with all this cool tech. But I don't get the same luxury of being able to kind of live into a gadget as much, and that's why my videos take so much longer to finish.
Yeah.
Because I want to get a sense of it. I don't want to just do, well, on embargo week, the software was incomplete. Don't buy this phone, buy a Sam Apple. You know, like, we need to do more than that, but the reality of that is like every 15 minutes that I spend trying to repair a watch is time I'm not using another product or writing a script or shooting or editing or something else. So that's why my videos often have the lowest production values, because I've got to squeeze that time out somewhere else. I have time to give you the prettiest panning shots from my nice mirrorless camera out on really beautiful locations, because I'm using the phone out on location, and I've got to figure out something to talk about more than just, isn't it really cinematically depth of field blurry? It's pretty.
Preach, brother. I hear you.
Right?
Okay. So speaking of 15 minutes, I've got about 15 minutes left in my working lunch here that I need to squeeze in. Now, I have ended every Beyond a Doubt in season 3 with a series of kind of rapid fire questions that I completely forgot to send you before.
We're doing it live. We're doing it live.
So yeah, and like I usually give people the option, do you want to see the questions ahead of time or not? And it's been about 50-50, so I think we'll be okay.
I can wing it. Let's go.
Yeah, so I think we're gonna have to wing it here. Sorry if there's anything in here that you just like don't want to answer. So
I'll let you know. Don't worry about that.
Okay, so we got about 10 minutes left. So let's bang through these. First question. First of all, look at the camera, say your name and your outlet.
Hi, I am Juan Carlos Bagnell, aka Some Gadget Guy, who can be found on somegadgetguy.com and patreon.com/somegadgetguy.
Excellent. And we will talk about that. We'll talk about that again at the end. And again, only about 50% of the people that I've asked this have actually done that. So that's fine. First question.
All right, question.
Are you a roamer, or do you have one set location for work?
Oh, I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
The whole point of what I do is to try and show you can do anything anywhere.
Yeah, that is definitely on brand for you. What's the last song or artist you listened to while working?
It's funny because of Stranger Things, Kate Bush.
Okay, all right.
Came back and went proper retro. Before that, I was jamming a lot on Lorde. Solar Power is
that's legit.
So much better than it has any right to be for singer-songwriter, girl and guitar. It's very musically clever. I've lost all cool cred just admitting that I really like that album, but I gotta be real on that.
That's fair. I've been on a Gravity Kills kick myself recently.
Oh, dude. Okay, yeah. For sure.
Anyway, what is one word that a PR person can put into an email subject that gets an insta delete?
Man, really, it's more. I don't know about one word. I don't think I've got a good answer for that. It's whether or not it seems like it's a chain letter. Maybe interview opportunity.
Okay.
I typically don't spend, and it's not because I think that's bad form or anything. It's just I don't really do a lot of interviews on my channel.
Fair enough.
Which means they don't know my channel, which means it's kind of a waste of time.
Oh, what a professional segue you just did. What's one thing you wish all PR people knew about you or your content?
Oh man, I am flying by the seat of my pants Like,
Okay.
what one is not a, well, yes, let's slow down and consider the application and the production, and let's get script approvals, and let's spend a lot of time I mean, like,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
constantly trying to faster write, cut, shoot, produce, and sometimes that can rub PR the wrong way because they're trying to create a more manicured or crafted conversation about their products.
Legit. Okay. All right. And speaking of which, how long do you take to write a proper review? And that's from the time you open the box to the time you push publish.
I don't feel comfortable. I mean, I have, and I've definitely done this. I think we all have.
Oh
We've
yeah.
taken our shortcuts. I really don't feel comfortable calling something a review if I haven't been around it for about a month.
Oh shit. Okay.
And so
That's
more often than not, especially with the current slate, like so many really cool phones have come out recently. Almost all of these videos are videos.
right.
Very few of them are reviews. I just put out another Sony. My experiences with the new Xperia 1 Mark IV were on a prototype. I cannot in good conscience call
Call
anything
that a
on a
review.
prototype a review. And
Yeah.
yet I still want to talk about camera performance and audio performance and all those benchmarks that I love to run with
Mhm.
a giant, huge banner disclaimer. This is not what the retail phone might resemble. But that means it's not a review because the actual consumer experience won't look like what I got to
Right.
experience.
Of course. Of course. Okay. I mean, my record's 3 days, but yeah, and the TCL 10
Again,
stylus or
so I mean, like, I'm looking at the TCL. I haven't put out a video on it yet. I mean, I
right.
got it in that kind of influencer batch, and we're going to be going on a week before I'll even feel comfortable putting a video down.
Yeah.
Now, I might call that a review because I feel the experience of that is a little bit more narrowed and focused, and I think I can bring something to that conversation. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to run a month before I talk about stylus in a review, but that's a very specific kind of conversation. I pick up an X80 Pro. There is so much going on with that phone.
Indeed.
Anyone who
Indeed.
put out a review under the embargo week, I don't think they're very good at their jobs. I think they are overly abbreviating what the lived-in experience is going to feel like for someone who's looking to spend $1,000 on a phone in markets where they don't have the same kind of carrier relationships for subsidizing phone prices and payment
Yeah.
plans. I feel like that deserves a little more consideration.
Little harsh, but okay, we'll go with it. So
Oh, that's my gig though.
I know that's on brand for you, Juan. Has there ever been a product that you received and tested that was ultimately so bad that you decided not to review it? And without naming names, if possible, what was it?
Um, it's not that it's so bad. The Xiaomi watch, I'm sorry, no, the Poco watch has been sitting on my desk in varying states of inoperability,
Okay.
of not being operatable, and that's mostly just an issue with regions
Is that the
and
new Me Band? No, no, no.
no. This is the Poco Watch. Yeah,
The Poco Watch.
it's
Okay,
it's
okay.
basically the cousin. I mean, we know Xiaomi and Mi
Sure.
and Poco and all of those
Yeah.
brands kind of share a parts bin. And I feel bad because I would love to talk about this as a fitness tracker, but I've had numerous issues trying to get it paired up with the Xiaomi or the Poco account process.
Mm,
And that's where I can't really contribute to a conversation as a Western reviewer because it's not made for us.
right.
It's more often those kinds of situations, but it's still like I'll get a pair of cheap earbuds, and you're like, man, I can't do anything with this. If I make a video, it's just going to be me trashing this video, trashing this product,
Right.
and also like, but to what purpose? I also don't expect that a ton of people are really looking at buying your product regardless. So I
Yeah.
try to be judicious when I have an expectation on who would be harmed by me not putting out a review on
Right.
a
I,
product.
I feel like at a certain point you're almost kind of doing them a favor by not putting out a review where you're
Well, I
yeah.
worry that I don't have a huge audience. Like I don't have, I'm not on a million subscriber channel, but I worry like if I make a video on this, will it even just call attention enough to the product that maybe someone would buy it oh, well, Gadget Guy said he didn't like this about these earbuds, but they're only $20 on Amazon. Maybe I'll take them for a spin. And
Okay.
for me, that's like, that's why I'm saying it's you got to be really careful. I feel like if I come out hard against a product that I think underperforms, I really want to know that I'm doing a service to a community, not that I'm just panning a product. And part of panning a product also brings more attention to the product.
Yeah.
So it's a very delicate balance. I'd much rather, and again, this kind of comes from the PR. If I can have a conversation with the PR and say like, hey, there's something going on here, and I
Yeah.
can't talk about this, until we can maybe see if it's just my unit or if it's something systemic,
Mhm.
then I feel like I'm in good company. If I don't get any reply from the PR or from the manufacturer, then I bounce the product. If they're not
Okay.
willing to entertain a conversation, then there's no point in me talking about
Right.
an underperforming product just to draw more attention to their company.
Totally get it. All right, and this one is actually very apropos for you. Do you prefer producing written content, audio content, or video content, and
Yes.
why?
All
Now
of it.
you got to pick one. Got to pick one.
Nope.
Nope.
Because I mean, genuinely, every bit of it is related to everything else. If you catch my channel, I don't make videos in a vacuum. If I bring up, a duo, unfortunately, it's my unique and singular perspective on the duo, which is informed by all of the other videos that I've made on duos and dual screen phones, and I
Okay.
can't in one video sum all of that up. So if I'm writing a script for a video, that is almost identical to me writing an article for a text publication, which is almost identical for me sharing my thoughts over an audio podcast. They all go hand in hand in hand. And so it's really, some Gadget Guy is legitimately one unbroken chain of content and conversation.
Okay.
And I totally appreciate that makes my channel less accessible. Like, it makes my conversations less accessible because I'll shortcut. I'm not going to
Yeah.
sit here and read off all the specs on the Pixel just so that you can have pretty B-roll and words on your screen. I trust that you can read and you can go and look that up yourself. So we jump immediately into a topic, and that seems to off-put some people that I'm not like, let me hold your hand through all of the low-level basic stuff. And that's the
Gotcha.
audience I want to talk to. Like, it's like you got your favorite show. You're really into Star Trek. You want to sit down at the table and be like, oh my God, did you see the last episode? Let me tell you about this and what was going on there. And oh yeah, Prime Directive. You don't want to have to like, oh, well, to understand this, let's go all the way back to 1968. Like,
Right.
you want to get into it.
Let
And
me
so
explain
that's
what the Enterprise is.
right? The
Right.
Star Trek Enterprise.
Right.
Like, no, Starship. Say Starship.
Right.
But that's unfortunately what my part in all of this has become. Like, I've got to abbreviate some of that exposition. So I'm just going to have to trust that people maybe might be interested in seeing some of my older videos. And if they're not, then they've got to jump in. I'm throwing them into the deep end. We're just going to go.
Let's just go. All right, so let's just go. Influencers here to stay or bubble waiting to burst?
Oh, here to stay, but definitely do a market correction.
Okay.
What we badge as social media and influence is crazy overvalued, and we're absolutely seeing it in the tech space. Like, even major channels, their viewership is down. I have to believe revenue is down for a lot of people. So many of these content creators have added additional content like podcasts where they have a bit more control over their own platforms.
Yeah.
Danger Will Robinson, Changing Times. But that's also an opportunity to, I feel, kind of reset and come back to a core audience who values this as a hobby like I do. If it's just the label, well, you're basically just running a fancy purse channel. This purse was more expensive and it shows that I spent more money on it. So that's why this purse is gooder than another purse.
Right. I love those channels.
I mean, right? I mean,
I
it's
go
so
by
satisfying.
those things.
I can't make a video for that person, but I've noticed that there is kind of a circling effect, a constricting effect on people that, I'm talking to a huge audience of North Americans that are likely never going to get their hands on a Vivo, but they're still intellectually curious about what this phone can do
Still
that
sad.
the current options they have available can't do.
Yeah.
And that's the person I want to talk to. Like, I want to talk to the person who is into this, not just wanting to be a part of the most popular club. And
Fair enough.
so I don't really feel I've got influence. I feel like we're finding a healthier division of community that will appreciate those sort of subtleties and those nuances. You want the big numbers, that's a different conversation. If you want to sit at the nerdy table in the back of the cafeteria and you want to like geek out on some stuff, that's where
Welcome
I feel
to
the
Juan's channel.
influencer. Well, no, I mean, open
Yeah.
arms. Come,
Yeah,
let's
absolutely.
break bread. It's going to be awesome. But I feel like that's where the influencer economy is headed. Right now, TikTok is the big pulse. Big numbers on TikTok. TikTok, short form video, awesome. That means there's a huge opportunity for folks like me to focus our audience and still contribute to longer form discussion and narrative on these products, because so many people who are just chasing the bigger payday and the bigger exposure are going to go to short form. Awesome. Go do that. I'm kind of chill where
Get
I'm
off
at right
my
now.
lawn.
I'm old enough. Like I'm not gonna go chase after those things, and I'm a good enough dancer that I don't need to do it for free.
Damn right. All right, two more questions. First, who's the first reviewer that you read / listen to / watch / go to when reviews start to drop for a new product? And it's okay if you don't say me, because
Well, but I mean, like,
no one ever says
no,
me.
is
Just for the record.
no, Adam. I can't say you because I kind of feel like we're cut from similar cloth, where we're almost never first.
Fair enough.
Do you know what I mean? So
Fair enough.
it's not through any snark there. I mean, I always get around to your thoughts on different products, but you're like me. It might be 2 or 3 weeks or a couple months after the
It
thing
might
is
be a
launched,
couple of
and
months later. Yep.
I feel that's better. There are a lot of people. Man, there are too many people. Obviously, I think my brother from another mother, TK Bay,
Mhm.
number one with a bullet. There's just so much trust there. I've been working with that dude for long enough now that you cannot question his consistency, his integrity, and his thoughtfulness in what he brings to the table is second to none. He cares about getting the most out of every penny you put into your consumer electronics purchases. And in an era where that is a challenge and where people are struggling, his voice needs to be amplified tenfold. He is genuinely of the best people.
Nice.
Lately, I've also really enjoyed sort of the community of creators around Eric, Easy Computer Solutions, Tech King Mike, LaShawn, Holler at Your Boy, Gadget Goddess. Barry Johnson is a rising star in tech YouTube. He is considered and methodical, and his vibe is so chill that it brings such a refreshing tone to the conversation.
And you're
I
not
know
just
I'm
saying
missing
that because
people.
he's watching.
Oh, is oh, Barry is in the chat. Hey,
Yeah,
Barry, what's
yeah,
up?
he's in the chat.
I've been trying to aim more at the camera. Barry, I just said a whole bunch of nice things about you. And then also Scoop. Scoop is a go-to in part of that community just for talking about cameras and optics. I mean, it's like I'm really actively trying to stray from just mobile. So for me, it's not just, what's going to be entertaining. It's for who I feel is delivering consistent and valuable content for my time, because I don't have a lot of time to watch this stuff. I also would throw a shout out to the guys over at DP Review, Digital Photography Review, are making some of the best, most consistent, entertaining, collaborative content on cameras and optics that I've seen in a while.
Nice.
And it's not with the same kind of flair for everything we shoot is with the creamiest bokeh. It's a really fun dynamic between the two hosts that I think achieves a more nuanced conversation. And they're a little like what I like to do. They get a product, they'll give you a first look, and they will not call it a review. They refuse to call it a review until they see a firmware update or until they see some kind of longer lived-in experience. But then they also call back to their other videos. So when I do sit down for one of their reviews, I'm not being spoon-fed all of their first look information again. They trust that you saw the first look video, so let's just talk about what this has been like now that we're doing the full review.
Right.
And I think it is such a small distinction, it's such a small nuance, but they trust their audience to go with them on longer term conversations, and that to me is critically valuable. I don't have 5 minutes for you to regurgitate what I've already seen you talk about. Please just tell me what you're getting into with this kind of stuff. And I think their videos are some of the most accomplished in the photography space right now. And then on top of that, they're genuinely just fun, likable, engaging hosts. So that's kind of my breakdown right now. If I'm doing anything in tech land, it's like TK, Barry, Eric, Gadget Goddess, Kimmy, and then DP Review. That's kind of like my lead-in on my YouTube channel. And then I've got hundreds of other channels that I'm subscribed to kind of fill in any of the other gaps on time. And yeah, it's a lot.
Excellent.
Oh, Ike. I almost forgot. Ike Talks Tech. His live streams have been great also. Again, just another, I think, a really shining contributor to a more nuanced tech conversation, and really, really lovely with his audience interactions. Like, he really gets into it with the people that follow his channel.
Awesome. Well, that was a cornucopia, and actually, it's funny because we both adjusted ourselves
Yeah, for sure.
at the same time, so we both went up, and it was almost as if there was like a single camera.
I was really starting to lean in there on like how many people I was talking about.
Yeah.
No, it's really good times. Like,
just
like how we don't want to put all our eggs in Samsung and Apple as manufacturers. I feel like YouTube focuses people towards like, this channel has 10 million subscribers, they must be more gooder. And you're missing such a vibrant and broad and international conversation about what it's really like to dig into this stuff, especially as someone who's passionate about this as a lifestyle and a hobby. There's incredible content going out literally every day.
Yeah.
Around all of these people that are joining, you know, they might be on a small channel, and they're genuinely taking the time, the sweat, the energy, the blood, sweat, and tears to make this stuff, and it's good, and it's really good.
Awesome. Well, I love it, and I will link to as many of those as I can in the show notes, just so bring some attention.
Later, I'll give you the whole rundown. I'll try and find channels for you.
Shoot me the list, baby. All right, final question: if you weren't working in this field, what would you be doing for a living?
I'd probably be still in casting. I really liked casting. It was fast. It was bloodthirsty. It was brutal. Commercial casting, I came out to LA to direct animation and then never made it to animation because commercials are visceral. If you do a television show, you get a group of people together, and then the producers get involved, and the writers get involved, and the directors get involved, and then you do callbacks, and then you do other screen tests, and like it takes forever.
Yeah.
In 2006, before all of this explosion of digital, I had someone in my booth for a commercial. I recorded their audition, and on a whim, I uploaded it to the server that we were using. The client heard that audition over their lunch break before anyone else had submitted, just said, "Hey, we really like this guy. Let's just book him." So before the audition had even really gone wide to all of the other casting houses and talent agencies, we already had an actor in the booth recording that for a television spot that I think made them like high 5 figures.
Nice.
Right? That is how insanely fast the game was in 2006.
I can't even imagine what it's like today.
It's insane. But I mean, it's not like, let's go 3 rounds on callbacks. It's like, I heard what I like. Get him in the booth. Let's get this done. And that to me is so, it's just a part of my core brain DNA is like, I just want to get this done, and I want it to be done as well as we can, but without this faff of like 6 different chefs all adding to this one pot of stew. You know, like I just want to get to a completed product that we all like. Let's do it. And I feel like if I weren't so into tech, and if I weren't so into this kind of content creation and conversation, I'd probably still just be cutting commercials, because it's just pop, 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 pop. The money sucks, but you're doing so many of them that it kind of makes up for it.
Gotcha. Love it. Okay, and then I know I said that was the last question, but now this is the last question. Now is the time when we can roll out the red carpet for you, and we already kind of touched on this a little bit,
For sure.
but just for anybody who might have tuned in late, where can people find you on the interwebs and enjoy your excellent content?
I'm all over the place. So if you search for Some Gadget Guy, you'll probably find my YouTube. My YouTube channel is actually my name, youtube.com/Juan Bagnell. But if you search for Some Gadget Guy, you'll find me there. Twitter, Some Gadget Guy. My home site, somegadgetguy.com. The Patreon is where I'm kind of spending a little bit more of my mental health time. So patreon.com/Some Gadget Guy. And then on top of that, I'm a producer and a host for Slick Deals. The Slick Deals content is coming out really, really aggressive. I'm really liking what we're doing over there.
Nice.
And then I'm still talking about streaming and broadband infrastructure for reviews.org. So again, it's like I'm constantly trying to collaborate. If it's with TK Bay for our own personal channels, if it's with Tashaka Armstrong over on reviews.org, or if it's with Trisha Hirschberger over on Slick Deals, it's kind of hard to avoid me at this point. I'm sort of all over the place. And
Nice.
I kind of like
Nice.
it that way. It's more interesting kind of waking up and going, wait a minute, what do I need to do today? I don't know. Let's just go do some stuff.
Let's just go do
And
some
you
stuff
just get-
and see what
You
happens.
just get to go do some stuff.
And let's go do some stuff and see who will pay for it. That's the
Yes.
That's the hashtag.
That's the
freelance.
best job to have, because even if no one will pay for it, I still made this thing and I still
Yeah.
have a platform that I can share it with folks. I have a video that was going to go out on reviews.org. We had to sideline it. And I'm asking them, like, maybe can I just preview it on my Patreon and see what people think? And you're like, yeah, that's a video I might not get paid for because of the way that things kind of got reorganized.
Yeah.
But I still made it, and it's still a thing, and it can still be watched and viewed and enjoyed. So it's a good job. It's hectic and scary, and you know where money's coming in, and are we making our mortgage payments? All that stuff is definitely a contributing factor. But I mean, I can't trade it right now because it's just too engaging and hyperactive, and it's too much fun.
Yeah, I like working for the man. Anyway, and speaking of which, my lunch break is very definitively over.
See?
So
I don't have that concern. I can
You-
keep going, Adam. Do you want to
I
just
know
hop
you
off
could.
and I'll keep talking to your audience, because I don't have to go. I can set my own podcasting schedule however I see fit.
Good point. Let me think about that. No. So that's going to do it for this episode of the podcast. Please consider subscribing to the podcast if you enjoyed it. And if you really enjoyed it, I would love it if you would write a review for the show. If you want some early access, jump onto Patreon at patreon.com/benefit of the Dowd. You can write to the show by visiting benefitofthedowd.com/contact. I would like to thank Juan for coming on and helping close out season 3 of the Benefit of the Dowd podcast, and to thank co-producer Cliff for all of his hard work behind the scenes. But most of all, and as always, I would like to thank all of you for listening and for giving us the benefit of the Dowd.